صلاح الحبيب قلبك كتيب على أفضل الصلاة والسلام. رجعنا لكم جديد بس جديد يوم كالعادة. اليوم راح مختلفين اليوم شوي. اليوم ما حابب ألعب فقلت حابب أشارككم مع بعض إنه نشوف البطولة تبعت اف ان سي تبعت الفورتنايت. هذاك فترة كنت أتابع والله كتير حلو، فقلت ليش ما نتابع مع بعض نشوف. يعني في كتير شغلات حلوة باللعبة، يعني اللعبة حماسية. فأهم شيء لا تنسى اللايك واشترك في القناة في حال ما كنت مشترك، ودعمني بلايك، يعني هذا بشي بحفزني وخليني استمر معاكم. وبس ما نطول المقدمة، خلينا نبلش المقطع ونشوف مع بعض نشوف البطولة. بلكم يعني بس البطولة حلو بطولة يعني حلوة كتير بطولة. يعني البطولة هلا حاليا من أول شيء من أولتها، يعني أنا بقول لك يعني من أول الجيم البطولة شوي مملة، بس بعدين مع شو اسمه بصير الجيم يعني بيظهر الزون وكلياته مع بعض هنيك الوقت بتصير اللعبة حماسية كتير. يعني صراحة في شغلات كتير حلوة. خلينا نشوف.
They really are. I mean, gee, how far they've come so far, and I want to see them. No, they have no
هاي مشكلة
FNCS
البطولة،
finals.
هاي مشكلة البطولات. هاي
Not only win an FNCS, but also continue forwards in.
هاي بطولة أوروبية، يعني هم لازم بيلعبوها بألمانيا اكس مات. بس يعني هاي مشكلة البطولات إن أولتها مملة لدرجة سبحان الله، يعني ما بتتصور أنا كتير ممل، لأنه ما بتخيل هيك بيسووا، بيبنوا وبيستنوا لآخر الزون وبعدين يبلشوا ببعض. بس آخر شي بكون حماس يعني ما في تتنفس. يعني أنا عم متابع ما فيني أتنفس كيف اللي عم يلعب. لا فيها مستويات حلو، يعني فيها ناس كويسين نلعبوا كتير كويس، بس يعني في ناس كمان يعني ما بتستاهل والله تلعب اللعب.
Many might have brought it up. Saya Scary, their worst match, coming from their best performance in all of their time playing Fortnite. I'm just hoping we see a strong mental from them.
هذه الفكرة جتني، يعني قلت ويغير محتوى شوي أحسن. لاعب بعرف أنا نلعب زبالة، فنشوف اللاعبين المحترفين، يعني على واسع نتعلم نصير محترفين، أعلمكم ونتعلم مع بعض.
We can quickly see them pushing up that top 3, and so far it's looking like they're going to continue.
Even if the zones aren't in their favor, they've clearly got other intentions for how to get the job done. Nice elimination there.
حبيبي إذا توب 10 200 وأول 3 ب 300 200 هذا ما خسروا. اللي اكتشفت من البطولة حتى لو تفوز كذا مرة مو مهم، المهم انك تقدر. لأن البطولة اللي فاتت من امبارح في واحد فاز مرتين، صار اسمه سابع يعني من توب 7. وفي اللي أول يمكن ما فاز بالجيم والله ما بتذكر، بس يعني كان جيب كيلات كتير بالبطولة، فكان عندهم نقاط أكتر. فيعني البطولة يعني بشوف كيلات أكتر من الفوز. يعني الفوز ولا شيء بالنسبة للبطولة. فالمهم إنه الكيلات. في كتير شغلات
they'll do their
بس
thing.
إنه البطولة
They're
أكثر
still
شيء
in
بتطلع على الكيلات.
Sharktini,
قديش كم كيل يعني كم كيل
knowing those on the board, you can
توتال
see
يعني بالجيم.
it's been pretty
أما
decent.
الفوز فعلى الفاضي، فزت ما فزت يعني.
I think they're gonna
في ناس مثلا البطولة امبارح
rotate.
اللي فاز مرتين بصراحة ما بيستاهل.
Wonky is one of the
يعني
PYs.
آخر الجيم كان قاتل له 3.
Bit of
فكان في واحد كان قاتل اللي هو رفيقه تقريبا 10.
with that one.
فوين يعني؟
I'm looking to see if they
يعني
can-
البطولة حسب ما
I mean,
فهمت
talk about
إنه
looking
يعني
like this
بيعتمد على
with
الكيلات أكتر من
We
الفوز.
know they don't want to do it, but it seems like their focus right now is just kind of cementing themselves a good spot on the leaderboard before they start playing like we've seen them play throughout the season.
Tini actually cutting across over to Frozen Shard. Gaija Monty's throwing a
تابعوا
live.
جايكم تابعوا جايكم.
They're not gonna wait. Other intentions aside from the wheel, wonder if they even knew that Shakos and Tilio were actually waiting at the bottom of that Wonky Land wheel. Maybe that was a concern for them that they didn't want to get tagged up because they were going for that deeper rotation. But right now, Yapko, Panzer, hopefully this time there's nobody to play spoiler to their position. But that's part of the dangers that always occur, I think, in a set lobby finals, where you know that there's going to be more than one team that starts to get a little bit desperate for their surge when they're underneath that threshold.
See how Thompson folks are looking now. So far, they don't want to do anything too risky, just trying to kind of stay ahead of the zone here, let it pull towards them. In terms of damage, looks like they're sitting quite comfortably. You see Kamihari close by. A lot of them kicking off yesterday, but today, seen nothing so far.
So there's a lot of action taking place underneath Thomas and Focus. And Khan. People with the teams kind of sandwiched between where Thomas Focus are at and Kami Hadi. One of those big duos is bound to get involved soon enough here. Shark Teeny, 81 above right now. Both with a couple of eliminations, right? 2 for the pairing. So they were able to find something after they left Frozen Shard. Just wonder who it was that they actually managed to sort of sneak up on. But they'll make their way into this next edge of zone. They're going to stick to the lower end. Do have a chance to look back now. And it's Mongzy and Skyjump after all. The intentions behind that Frozen Shard play was likely just to cut off the Frenchies. And that is a tough blow for Skyjump and Mongzy.
Yeah. On the contrary, though, Charcantini getting more and more set up for this late Demon Storm. 2 of them's on the board. I wonder if it was in their kind of mix-up off spawn strategy, but either way, they've been continuing the momentum from yesterday. They had a rough start to day 1. They ended with a big match, and now going into day 2, they're continuing their success.
كما
They
عاد
actually
بالجيم
did take out
شوف لكم.
Frosty and Assad in the early game, so showing the dominance
Okay.
from previous draws.
والبطولة عبارة عن 12 جيم. امبارح لعبوا 6 اليوم لعبوا 6.
Clear that if they mark somewhere, they likely have intentions to visit it eventually. And for Assad and Frozy, while they defended
هلا
it one
ببلش
time,
الحماس.
Fields is going to continue to be, I think, a pretty big.
كل ما الدايرة تصغر كل ما تبلش حماس.
Remainder of our matches here today, with the
تضغط على اللعيبة
starting
كتير.
to close in. Teams, some kind of scattered around the outskirts of the zone, all different directions, but you can see those surges lighting up. Handful of different teams here now. Malabuka and Miko. While we didn't necessarily get to see too many overviews from their performances yesterday, one thing's for sure, Miko was definitely getting very active with dealing damage. But Thomas, he's just sent wiggling around inside of his own box. Him and Focus brought so incredibly low. Part of the problem too, when we last saw them kind of tanking up those ticks of storm, they didn't have much white heals. They really only had splashes and a single chug jug. So now they really got to depend on finding a refresh here. But Focus very low on his shields. Thomas maybe going to be able to take over
البطولة ما فيها حدا معروف يعني ما في حدا مشهور ما تعرف عليه كلهم جداد كلهم المركز الأول أصلا نسيت شو عن اسم المركز الأول.
Argentini on the contrary, the perfect pull. They're capitalizing on it. Swissy, Pixie as well. They actually got 48 points.
هلا اللي بلش الحماس خد بقى
if they want to make it.
كلهم يتجمعوا بنفس
See them in
النقطة.
the end game, both with HP. I've got faith.
This might be best case scenario too for Malabuka and Vigo. All those duos that just sent themselves scattering forward. Yakko, Panzer in a heavy world of hurt right now. Panzer just trying to outlast it with this Chug Jug focus. The only one left standing right now between himself and Thomas. As a solo, he's at least got the mythic pump to work with. His only form of ability though, a singular overdrive grenade, and he's 240 below. He has to find a shot. He has to do it now. Panzer won't be able to connect. He's going to be cleared out of the lobby. But focus, all eyes on you currently. Chad, Flixie, just behind him. He's going to opt to try, see if he can move his way forward. Only 4 more players, and he might be saved. But you never want to leave it up to the rest of the lobby. But Malabuka, Vico, I thought it'd be beneficial, them being ahead of the rest of the pack, scattering in towards their direction instead. It looks like they've been overwhelmed. Now they're sitting underneath the surge threshold. Malabuka has to find a big pump shot to connect. Otherwise, the surge ticks will take him out entirely. Him and Focus both just trying to see who's going to be the first to find that opening blow. But Focus by the players in the lobby, eliminating themselves essentially. Surge won't work against them, but they are still in a dire situation. Both of these teams fighting for their placements on the leaderboard. They have positions to defend, but it's Malabuka taken out by Focus. Siphon just in the nick of time. And that is still the worst case scenario here now, though, for Mali's. He has to wait, see what happens next.
حلو كل واحد عنده ايم اسطوري يخرب بيتهم بس
Go down for Thomas HD2. This just shows that even the
بيت
best of the
ايمهم يا
best
زلمة.
you are struggling with this net surge, forcing themselves in situations where they have to take those risks. Sayas now is actually left alone despite that elimination on Thomas HD, and both Honey Fishy and Sharktini are second height and full height. From Walkyland to the end game, this battle, it never ends. But Shark and Teeny, Huddy, Fishy, neither of them really seemed all that set in terms of material. Huddy, Fishy, they might have the high ground for the time being, but with the way that the zone is pulling over a little bit of elevation shifts, they might have to layer transition eventually. They're going to need to drop here. Saya's trying to go up, but that elevation shift brings him down instead.
جاب واحدة هيد شوت.
Sky there, gonna keep him incredibly low, and now Teeny's ready to go up.
دايما اللي بيكمل فوق بيفوز في البطولات هيك. فالناس دايما تحاول تطلع فوق مشان تفوز لأنه انت فوق ما في حدا فوقك يعني كلهم تحتك يعني بتاخذ حريتك ما بتخاف انه حدا يضربك الا من تحت هذا الشيء لازم كل بناية بيتك مضمون 100% وخلاص يعني.
Comes through, and now the rotation continues forwards.
But Sky and Scroll, they are more than comfortable here in the lower layers. We saw how fruitful it was for them in yesterday's performance. They did a great job at just controlling the low ground. Anybody
الحال هذا تبعه والله أسطوري.
was going to deal with them, and Chino left by himself. Pablo left behind. Chino trying to do what he can to connect some additional tags here. Psycho would go a long way for him. He's gonna send himself straight towards the front side.
هذا حرام يموت.
Swizzy also trying to see if he can make it happen. He's been clawing his way through this match since the beginning, Takada. The fact that he's still standing as a solo is impressive enough as is. But Chino, very similar position, utilizing the building space now. On the other side of the wall, the roof hits the first shot. They were both waiting to connect and Scroll, Sky. This is their best opportunity to continue trying to extend their lead, but Sky gets put down. Repairs waiting in the wings. They are so ready to overtake these teams on the leaderboard, but you gotta make sure that you're looking every direction here because teams sneaking just behind, and it's Shark. It's teeny. We lost sight of them on the high ground. They didn't lose sight of the players.
كان بدي هذاك اللي يفوز اللي قاتل 7 لحاله يفوز.
This is what we've been waiting for. 12 eliminations for Shark and Teeny. Frankie, Levin, Minnie, I know you're gonna have smiles on your face.
There has been a revenge narrative all weekend between Shark and Teeny and Hutty and Fishy Eggs at Wonky Land, and we thought that this one was probably going to end by the mid-game, given that they were so stubbornly refusing to leave until there was a victor, but then they decided it on height 11.
I was so excited. As soon as we got that drone shot and we saw who was on high, who was on second high, I knew we were getting one thing and one thing only, Minnie, and that was going to be cinema. At the end of the day, you don't go swimming if you're not ready to swim with the sharks. And as soon as those two went up for high, I said, yeah, man, they're ready for the comeback. That's what they're looking for. Big pop-off games. That's what we want to see from people. Of course, I mean, I like seeing, you know, people get third place for limbs consistently game after game. But what I like more is seeing Shark and Teeny getting a win with 12 limbs. That is what we want to be seeing.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So I was just looking, that's actually only their second top 10 overall over this weekend. They got 4th in the first game, and then it was, of course, that win right there. Absolutely huge for this team. Going to do them wonders in terms of the leaderboard, but also in terms of their confidence as well, just proving that they are here to play.
بس خلينا نشوف الجدول كامل. يمكن يعني يكون من توب 7 توب 10 بس ما يكون المركز الأول هذا العربي يمكن حظ حرف التاء. مو درع معلي دول درع يمكن ما
Yeah, I'm glad we saw both of them sort of popping off right as far as Shark and Teeny. Obviously Shark gets all the hype, but I think people forget just how
هذا كني
in the world for a reason. I know Reed
نزل وعارف إنه هذا كني شلون
you have two incredibly talented
يمكن عم يغشوا عم يتابعوا بس
the best of them over the first sort of 6 games we saw yesterday, and so hopefully now this is the boost they need, the momentum they need to know. Even in situations where the off-spawn at Wonky is still a bit messy, we're still stuck in stagnating fighting there, we can have end games like that to make up for it.
Well, they're currently 6th on the leaderboard. They are 219 points behind our leaders, Sky and Scroll. We'll get to see if they can make even more gains in our next game after the break.
أنا ما أصلاً وين كان هاي؟ نروح ايه واحد عم يلعب بس ماني حابب اورجيكم اياه فاحسن لكم ما تشوفوا. بدي اورجيكم الجدول. المركز الاول بعيد المركز الأول صار بعيد كتير.
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk?
في عم في
Stay there.
المركز الأول بعيد، يعني مستحيل تنجح. صعبة كتير صعبة. أنا حابب أورجيكم اسمه الجدول، بس يعني في شغلات لا تشوفوا أحسن. في ناس
It's really heating up on the leaderboard right now, and there's one duo who remain confident as ever, and that is Sky and Scroll. They have the highest limbs and highest average placement as well. So this is a team that's not just playing it safe.
No, and they again continue to showcase the issue that anyone else in the
خمس
sport
مية
is
وشوي
gonna have
اللي
when trying to
مين
catch
بدي
up with them.
بتجيبه خلاص ما راح
Stop a
يتجاوب.
team that is just
إلا
gonna keep getting these
المركز
top
الثاني
fives, keep getting deep into these
في حال
games.
قتل كثير ناس،
In many cases
يعني
now,
كيلات كثيرة
are gonna be
وفاز،
outfragging you in these
ففي
games.
احتمال إنه
This game
يتصدر،
was the second
وغير هيك ما راح
place
يتصدر.
in a
صعب
game
يعني.
where
إذا فارق هذاك
you
500
need to catch up.
هذا 520 الثاني
They just
400
really
وشوي،
have a
الفارق كثير.
on the low ground. Nobody seems to be able to play it better than them right now in EU, and I don't see that changing in the next 4 games.
It's really nice to see them playing the low ground so well as well. It's nice to see a team have an identity. I feel like it's not something that we've associated with teams necessarily previously as much, or at least not as obviously as we can see right here with Sky and Scroll. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's so difficult to catch up to them because they're just covering all bases so well. They're finding eliminations whilst being super consistent. And for teams that are trying to catch them up, Chino and Pablo,
كان ضايعين آخر واحد.
do you actually do? Of course, weren't able to win this game, but again, another unfavorable zone. Maybe our hair will be grey by the time we get a West Zone this weekend, but it's just going to be unstoppable for them. And they've nearly sort of brought back that sort of 90-point gap as well.
هذا المركز السادس اللي فاز قبل الجيم.
Unbelievable right now.
Yeah, that's the
بس
unbelievable
30
thing,
واحد.
guys. It is. It's
وين
82
وينك
points, I
وين؟
believe, if I've done the maths right. So it is a stunning performance from these guys. And the thing is, sometimes
ما
with
في
duos, they
حدا
question
بالبطولة
if
هناك
they
شتو
go,
ما،
"Oh,
بس
are they
يعني
able to
حلو.
maintain this level
أنا
of
كتابة
scores,
حلو،
or
في
is it
تفاصيل
guaranteed
كتير
that
حلوة.
they're going to increase it? But it's not guaranteed for Pablo and Chino that they are going to be able to maintain the distance between second and third mini minor.
Yeah, they've still been doing very good though. I mean, it's a nice end game for them. They managed to pick up a couple of eliminations here as well. Again, the zone right on their drop spot and Sandy's strip, of course. But this is exactly what we expect to see from these guys, taking advantage of these zones. Because yes, I'm sure we will get a different sort of zone soon. But they need to make the most of it when they're still getting the zones right now, and they did so very well here.
والبطولة إذا تطبر فيها
I mean,
كانت
somebody clearly out there really
خاصة
wants
مع
us to
الوضع.
have a close finish here in some degree, right? Because these guys are going to continue to get those beneficial zones, but they play them well. And so I know people will, will ban at them and say, oh, you guys had all the zones, whatever. They're playing them well. There's other players who are getting favorable zones, ain't doing anything similar to what these guys are able to produce.
And Shore and Repairs, it almost looked like they were going to reproduce a victory royale, Levin. I'm so impressed by the way that these guys are stepping things up on day 2.
Absolutely. Again, the theme of this season has been what? It's been these newer names, these newer talents, people who you maybe weren't expected to pop off and showcase what they can do. And I think these guys exemplify that excellently, right? This moment here between Chino and Repairs, it was like, who's going to get a job? You usually expect the person with the right-hand peak there to win, but Repairs, again, showcasing just why they have been so formidable across these 2 days so far. I'm very excited. Again, I'm very excited to see sort of what the limit is for these guys. At the end of the day, we're going to expect to see these guys at this point now make it to the summit line. Will they be able to replicate this performance and surprise some of the best players in other regions over the course of
مشكلة.
Well,
يعني
it's
شوف
time for Legends
فرق
Watch because Swizzy
حتى
and Pixie, they made it to a couple of
الكيلات
games
كيف
now back to back.
هذا
The question is,
كان
were they good
أول
enough
واحد
end games
حتى
to
ال
move them
41
substantially up
الثاني
the league? Well, they've not made it into the top 20 yet, but on page 3 you can see that they're up a whopping 14 places,
حتى بالكيلات يعني
25.
متصدر.
Now, Düsseldorf is looking like a reality level.
Yes, and this is the thing. when you have elite players, and that's what these guys are, regardless of what we saw yesterday, when you have elite players, you can't count them out. I love the approach they've taken to today's Off Spawns mini, where yesterday they lost a couple of spawns, you know, at Dark Dominion, and so they decided, okay, we're gonna just try and split it, and then that's where they ran into more problems. Today, they've just been taking the fight off Spawn, and just like, no, we're gonna fight you guys, we're gonna take the fight, truly go to whatever you guys wanna do, we will fight you, no problems asked. They've been winning the fights, even in that last game, right? They ended up with what, a really good game, where the start of the game was actually rough, because they had to reboot Pixie, then when Pixie gets rebooted, other teams come in, third party, then Pixie goes down again, he gets rebooted again, and they're still able to have a good game. And so that shows you that they've come into today completely changed, completely renewed, and they're going to be a threat for the rest of the day.
Levin, who's coaching these guys at the moment?
Not sure, can't remember.
They need like a motivational voice in their ear to remind them they are literally the #1 and #2 placing players at the global championships from last year. Because mini-miners, sometimes I'm thinking maybe it's just their confidence that's not there. They just need a reminder of the fact that they're 2 of the best fraggers in Europe.
Yeah, potentially. I think day one yesterday was a big shock to them, and what I've always said in Fortnite is the best teams will play well on day one, but the better teams will fall and do even better on day two, and that's what these guys are sort of epitomizing right now. You can see them. They went back in replays last night. They looked at what went wrong. They didn't try to change too much on day one. They tried to stick to their guns. Didn't work out. Now today things have shifted. They're changing up their game plan. And looking at their place was 8th and then a 4th. They didn't get a top 10 yesterday. Not just that, they didn't get a top 35 yesterday. Their best placement was a 35th. So it's like they completely flipped the script on what they were performing like, and now they're in 25th. So that's going to be huge for them. Hopefully qualifying here through here.
I'd like to say the only way is up, but nothing is guaranteed in Fortnite. Let's head over to Taco and Takata for game number 9.
Look, Swizzy and Pixie knew that they were in for a grueling battle here today, Takata, but it is their last chance to try and overcome the odds and see if they can put themselves into a position where they are just inside of that top 20 qual metric for the Major 1 Summit land.
Yep, game 1, they got 48 points. Game 2, they got 76 points. And what they needed today was an average of 50 points every single game. Now, if they get very big point games, obviously that average can go down. Having a 76-point game in the 8th match, I'm liking how things are looking, but it can change depending on how that off spawn goes. But for Shark and Teeny, it is looking brighter and brighter. A massive win, 12 eliminations. Let's see if that changes the confidence for them in the early game. The next game, number 9, is ready to go.
Just general overview right now. You can see the bus path transcending downwards. Wonky Land. While we haven't seen that immediate 50-50 off spawn so far here today, with Shark and Teeny's last victory royale in game number 8, it would not surprise me in the slightest to see them maybe offer a little bit more aggression earlier on, but for right now, northern directions for Teeny. He's actually opted to take this like little castle area just north of BOI, and Shark also
طول كان المركز الثاني على ما أظن.
toward north. Maybe their concern is we saw
المركز الثاني على ما أظن كان المركز
head on
الثاني.
over from Wonky from Toy Box Talk, so that could be a big part of the reason why. But Swizzy, 1 elimination already, and we get a chance to revisit what went wrong here for Truly. Just
هذا اللي كانت لحاله سبحة.
feeling there out of Swizzy, and like the desk already touched on, they just decided, you know what, it's our turn to actually just start throwing punches. And I feel like for Truly and Gonzo, they're just like, wait, hold up, time out. When did you guys start punching back?
It's already 4
خطة العزوم بالبطولة كلهم بيستعملوا المسدس. ليه؟ لأنه سريعة، وحتى لما بدك تعشقها كمان سريعة. تعشيق حتى كثير تعشيق يعني إعادة تعبيد المسدس كمان بيكون سريع. عليك يعني الناس اللي بالجيم بيستعملوا المسدس يعني كويس، يعني بيضربوا ورا بعض. حتى يعني طلقة طبيعية يعني سهل تلاقيها بالماء. فلهيك
Have to wait and see work with. Teeny also, I think he just split some of his mats there. So Huddy, Fishy, trying to gather up whatever else they might be able to use here to put themselves into a winning position. But Shartini, you can tell just how hungry they are for this exchange. They want to wipe out Huddy and Fishy, and they might be able to do it. Huddy, they're doing a great job pulling back Fishy, actually forcing Shark to wait despite taking a big chunk out of Huddy's HP. He's not going to be able to close in fully just because of the backup from Fishy. But I might have spoken too soon. Teeny with a different angle. He brings down Huddy, who's already so incredibly low. Now it's all about collapsing onto Fishy, but Fishy making sure it's not easy. It doesn't matter though. John's theme song in real life here. Shark and Teeny kicking Huddy and Fishy back to the battle bus. They were already in 19th place heading into this leaderboard, and that's bound to drop even further outside of that land wall.
Instant change in confidence coming through that win. You could tell it was looking little iffy starting off the day of them being outside of qualifying range to Dusseldorf. They quickly pushed themselves up into top 15, and now after that win, they are back in business. This is the Shark and Teeny we were expecting in the major finals after an underperformance in day one. Now they're back in action. Huddy Fishy actually completely ran out of mats in that engagement, so they were constantly applying pressure. Pablo and Chino now, they are still in second place. They've gotten top 10 in every match today, but we know that they want that first place.
Of course, hungry for yet another
اوكي حركة حلوة والله أول مرة أشوفها.
Chino and Pablo. They're gonna set up. They've got a line of sight onto Azza and Ifrozi. They are gonna take their
أول مرة بشوف الحركة.
again, but there is of course always action taking place elsewhere on the map. And Zany, look at this setup. Hydro and Keto just shut down. They've been lords of the tunnels for the most part, hanging out by Dark Dominion and other teams. When they hit those bombs, when they hit the replay staccato, they're bound to catch wind of what's actually taking place and do their own sort of ambush maneuvers. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I think even the most experienced teams would still struggle with here today.
Scary place to be in. Swizzy and Pixie felt it firsthand yesterday, but going a lot better today. Tom Safety and Focus. It wasn't a terrible match, but it wasn't what they needed to get what they truly want. The first place finish, 15-2 elims. Now here in the 9th match, I believe it was a mix of kind of a rotate where Thomas got caught off guard by Sayas, and then also just being a little low on Surge. It's just so difficult when even the most experienced players in the lobby cannot handle this net Surge.
Big contributing factor to that is just knowing every single duo out here is trying to reevaluate, figure out what sort of strategy do we need to do to put ourselves in the best position to be above that Surge metric. Nico Malabuka. What we have seen glimpses of greatness from this duo. For the most part, it has been relatively quiet, and they've done a decent job at least remaining inside that top 10 portion of the leaderboard, but it's just one of those instances where you're kind of just waiting for like the what next factor. You're waiting to see the big pop off really from that team.
Maker for 9. Sitting 31st right now. I mean, 128 points. They're actually not too far from top 20. They would need a big game. These early game fights, they mean so much.
أنا وصلت ما بعرف الحوار. لخبط مع الكاميرا ونسيت. ما بعرف مين اللي انتصر وما استنى. هذا وين هذا مركزه يمكن قبل الأخير خرب بيته. على قليل متأهلين على البطولة. قبل الأخير بعد الأخير متأهل الزلمة. هذا هو البطولة من أولها. صيد سمك ولا على باله.
looks
وبالنهاية
like
طحن.
Con and whatnot that opt to maybe try and throw themselves
Safe.
into Latte's potential area to contest. Demish Darm, though, doing more of the same of what they've been after. Started the first couple of lobbies here today, checking out the eastern section of the map, and now they're back out west. Pretty familiar sightseeing, though, for these two, given that their original starting point had been Tip Top Terrace once upon a time before the map shifted a bit, and now, without a set drop, they're really just, I wouldn't call them scavengers, because I do think that they do a pretty solid job at cleaning up the teams that they fight and extending their own positions for rotations and whatnot in a game, but it is scary when you have
في
a
ناس
team
بتضل
that's just
بالزون، أنا ما بقى
vaguely rolling around the
عشان
map
كان
and not really
الزون
sure where
بالأخير
they're going to be next.
لأنه
Kind of wondering
شو
why they
اسمه
switched though. They got 5th place, 8 elims in the last match, 6 elims, 15.
ستور
The
دام
match before that, like, it's
ستون
not like it was
دامج شو
going too
اسمه
bad.
اللي بتضرب
It's solid
صواعق
enough,
مشان
but
تدمج الناس
they're just continuing
اللي
with their
مدمجة
rhythm,
قليل
so we'll see how it does
يعني
play out. I mean, they're
مدمج
built up right now,
اللي
so
مدمج العالم قليل
it didn't go very
فستور
well
دامج
either.
بدمج على اللاعب لحتى يا يموت يا شو اسمه هيل تبعته يكون بالنص حسب قديش هو مدمج العالم. فيمكن في ناس مثلا هدول مثلا قاعدين بالستور مشان هالشي، يمكن مشان ستور دامج مشان ما يدمجوا، مشان ما يصير دمج كبير، فيمكن هالشي مشان هالشي. بس ما بعرف، أنا مستغرب أنا.
But the scenes have shifted a bit for this duo here today. It's one thing though to make it to the end game, it's another to convert that end game into a performance that would net you points
شوف
inside of the
أربعة
leaderboard for that top
يعني
20
جوات
position at Summit One LAN. To the
أربعة
other Shakers
بالزون
though,
يعني.
I don't think they know what's coming next. This is starting to get real spooky. Darm and Demish.
أربعة
Very content right now. Over by Tree
ولا
Top.
بهيلوا يعني ما يعرف يعني بهيلوا.
They're healing up. Got the vending machines. Afford to expend a little bit more time here, but Chicas and Delia will catch wind of this duo the moment that they mosey on out of the buildings here. And it's not just one, but potentially even another duo. Thought another team might have had an angle in onto this engagement, but instead, Chicos Delia, they got what they were after, the tags, they want to keep moving forward.
هذا اللي جاي المركز الأول.
Sky Scroll almost 100 points ahead.
عندنا معلقات الواحد.
Against Chino Pablo, they're just continuing to kind of slowly.
على هيك بطولات من أولها مملة، بس بعدين بالأخير
And
لما
the issue is I don't
دايرة
really see them
تصغر
slowing
بتصير
down. It's almost the
بتصير
opposite. They
كويس
kicked
يعني.
it off with a 7th for
بتصير حماسي.
elims and a second 8 elims. They're just doing better and better. We'll see if that continues as Kamihari now have picked up a couple eliminations. Things are starting to look brighter for this duo today.
يعني شوف في ناس
They
بالزون
still got a long
قاعدين
ways to
على
go.
هيلو.
The big thing to keep in mind is that a lot of our teams that are in that top portion of the leaderboard, what they've been doing is having at least one or two games netting high eliminations, netting strong placement. So it's gonna be a lot more than just the offhand elimination or
ما
two. A lot of these
مستحيل والله
duos that are
تتعرض
outside of
لي
that top 5
بالزون بس هي.
territory,
أنا شوف خودت بقى.
they're gonna need to start pulling in
هذا
6-7 eliminations per game, strong placement finishes. And it's always easier said than done, but for Pablo and Chino, this is they're eating good right now. That's
ستورم سيرج أيوة يعني ستورم سيرج
Too
اسمه
much. Like, what do we do with all this?
بينزل مثل البرق
See how
من
this ends
السماء.
up closing out, but
بدمج اللعيبة واللعيبة اللي مدمج قليل يعني مدمج اللعيبة التاني قليل
game rotate.
فبيتعرض على
See
الدمج.
the amount of
كل ما
damage
كان
across the
دمجك قليل
board.
كل ما بتتعرض لستور فستور دمج كتير.
And they kind of in the south side of the zone.
It's crazy that there's still some goodies left over. Even though Sky and Scrolling, that's their initial starting point, but makes sense. One duo can only carry so much. Thomas and Focus, they're really just trying to be wary. I'm certain that they're fully aware of that hill that Sky and Scroll like to take claims over, surge base on. it's going to be difficult to avoid their line of sight, but where there's a will, there's a way. Vika Malabuka, ready to get going. I'll try and avoid any congestion wherever possible. On one of their healthiest surge metrics that we've seen so far here today, but Fanaid and Moneymaker
Storm
be a
Surge
thorn in the side
active.
here if they actually choose to try and force this
And
battle
Storm
against
Surge.
Malabuka and Vika. You never know
Mm-hmm.
what duos
And there was Storm
might be a
Surge.
little bit more desperate for some of that surge.
Yeah, this was the main
تعرف
duo I was
لك فوق
talking
قبل
about when I
نكون
said,
انت مدمج.
you know, EU Titans actually struggling with net surge. It was Malibu and Pico in the last match, and when you're 460 above, you do not want to risk getting tagged in these fights right now. They do not need it. I'm glad that they're focusing on the rotate here. Syaz, Scary. It's about time for them to have a big match if they want to keep up the expectations going into
هذول
today.
اللي كان عم يصطاد
I guess
السمك.
the performance that they had yesterday.
قاعدين نص الجيم عم يصطادوا السمك. ولا ما عملوا شيء. خد بقى على
24
هذول.
points so far. Let's see if they can get a big one.
First, we got to see what Zany and Berg decide to do. They've been waiting things out. Thought for a moment that they were going to choose to pop out. Scary and Syaz rolled on by, but not the intentions, not just yet. Yen isn't cheating. Decent spot on the edge of zone.
خرب بيت الصراحة.
They're just trying to scope out, see if there's any teams. And it open a little bit too long, maybe that they can take advantage of, but at least for right now, we're going to avoid most of the lobby focus.
Dark Team needs to wait one above. We saw them get the two eliminations off one on Honey Fishy. They have a very good amount of mats actually. If they can pull some zones here, this could be another very big match for them. If anyone's capable of a back-to-back win, it's going to be Shark and Dini.
And when you compare both sides of the zone, Kira, Karama just under so much stress right now. Pixie, Swizzy just going to take advantage of the circumstance. Big eliminations here for these two. Another one of our duos that they need every single point they can get. 25th. And we never said it was impossible for them to come back, but they are playing new life right now here today, Takata.
Yeah.
This ninth lobby, this is where a lot of that willpower is truly going to be tested. Because they can convert this into a great endgame finish, and it starts with just one more elimination.
زلمة
one
على
more
البناية
points added to the
يا
count.
زلمة.
Every little bit,
عم تتخبى.
just kind of sending a new little bit
بالي هو
of
بني طلعوا عنا
revival
هذول
into this duo.
الثانيين بني.
New hopes too.
تتخبى
They
ببناية
might
مين
actually
من بني
just
ليش؟
squeeze in for that land wall.
هذا فكرة
Then we
غبية.
won't have to sit out our Major One Summit land. We'll have at least one out of 3 representatives from that global
شوف
championship.
الزون شوف كبر الزون شوف اللاعب اللي
47th
جوا.
place for
كم في؟
25th today.
63
The
لاعب.
issue is, despite these consistent performances, the
Not
job's
bad.
not done. They need to continue having these matches every single game, but be careful. Tini's actually been knocked. If you look at the bottom left, what has gone wrong? Hopefully Shark here is able to pick him up, as it doesn't seem like anybody is actually pushing them.
Look, don't get me wrong, Shark and Teeny, they might have had a lot of materials, they might have had a decent amount of heals there, Takata, but their positioning was a little bit scuffed. They were kind of sandwiched between 2 separate teams. Hardcore and Kira at one point, I believe they made that initial rotation. They're kind of forced to shift towards lower elevation. Now boxed up right next to Aza and Ifrozi. We've already seen Aza pop off once here today. So even contenders like Shark and Teeny, you've gotta be wary about where they actually want to duke things out. Thomas focus 210 above. Probably one of the most favorable zones that they're going to get. And now Thomas so confident in Blue Chat yesterday after that 11 already highlighted it. Just give me zones and I will show you a champion performance. We'll wait to see just how he intends
طبعا
on
البطولة يعني ما
delivering.
فيها
Might
قنابل.
have to deal
ما
with
فيها ولا
either
قنبلة.
Medius nearby though. Thomas focus. Patient.
لأنه إذا حطوا القنابل أنت بالآخر شوف كلهم بيتجمعوا بنقطة واحدة. إذا أنت فوق ومعك قنابل أنت خلاص فزت الجيم. شرط إنه كل يعني كلها تحتاج قنابل. أنت جايب الجيم. خاصة هذول القنابل اللي يعني تنفجر كذا مرة.
Spanish flame unfortunately seems like it's sort of sizzling out right now as Scroll, Sky, 343 above,
دول
taking shots
المرتبة
back.
الأولى.
The rest of the lobby sort of funneling in towards their direction. Won't be able to get the pre just then.
ما قتل ولا واحد. شلون كان هلا بيطلع لك واحد قاتل 6-7.
Thomas Focus being a little bit of a stir here right now. Shakos nearby. They're gonna drop their pizza box. Tom's gonna carry some of those slices, but Focus definitely want to heal up a bit. Great mist grenade too. And you have to remember, anytime these low variant mist clouds are seen, teams on height bound to start looking, trying to apply pressure into those areas. Minori, he's not careful, he might get sandwiched in between Shark TV, Focus, Thomas, but so many teams collecting their own fair share of eliminations here. Pablo making it look too easy. Werex, no idea what happened next there. The pre-edit just too powerful.
أعطاه كاميرا مع فلاش. صور مع فلاش.
So difficult to push them out of the first place spot. You mentioned it, Taco. Thomas HD Focus said, give us zones. We won't disappoint. Well, let's see it happen here as Sky and Scroll pick up an elimination. And now focus on
المركز الأولى.
And when Sky Scroll applying that kind of pressure too, it puts out the warning signs for everybody else in the lobby. They start closing off their walls, they start boxing up, so that makes it feasible for them to just rotate so freely off that They've actually managed to escalate themselves up. T and Giannis, when it looked like it might be theirs for a moment, now they'll be forced to just sit in that secondary height position instead. But how much pressure can Swizzy and Pixie truly apply here? They've got their work cut out for them. Teeny though, he's taking a tumble. Shark left as a solo here. Front side of zone at the very least, but still so much to deal with. So many other teams looking to try and cut him off along the way.
Repairs also got cracked now. Sure, trying to figure out which way he even wants to go. They're not grouped up here, but a refresh is going to come through. Focus, though, has to be on getting to zone. Tom's HD and Focus. Good synergy here. Both players looking healthy. Issue is running low on mats. They will need to pick up some eliminations shortly. Sky Scroll, though, still have good mats. But you got to be careful, Scroll, as he gets cracked. It's going to be able to group up, though. Keeps it down, and now should be able to do.
But that forced halt, that temporary time lost, that could ultimately be the seconds that make the difference. Kulak going to help Shark out just a little bit here. Stuck inside of his own wooden cone, waiting to see who he can actually try and close in on. They had to work to get into their position in the first place on the leaderboard. And now it's looking like this lobby might be working again. The Shark knock onto Pablo. Chino, he might just be able to see if he can turn this one around, but no, he'll have to abandon Pablo. Not going to be able to actually opt for that revive. Shark knows it's only a matter of time before the siphon comes into play for him. Gonna wrap around, take advantage of it, but you can tell already the storm sickness is a problem here right now for Shark. He can't afford to tank up any more ticks of zone. He's gonna have to hope that Focus doesn't realize on the other side of the wall he still has no materials left to work on. Gino with another elimination though. Over grenade effect. Only one left though for mobility. This is looking like a tough one to close out.
A lot of solos. Pablo was forced to clutch it out in the last match. Now it's all up to Chino. He's got 3 on the board, but it looks like he's going to have to rotate up the hill. Has to break through build. It's getting a little messy. Down below, will he be able to find a way out and even find an elimination alongside it? Sky, we've seen your solo clutch potential. You now have another shot to do it.
Just lurking around. He is going to find a big shot that's going to connect all of those goodies. An ultimate low here. It's familiar territory, but look at Swizzy and Pixie. We knew they needed to have a monumental day here, and they are making sure to do everything in their power to find it. Malibuca, Vico, also another team looking to try and see if they can pick off Sky. Pressure from above, pressure from below. Sky, Scroll, they are out of this one, but Chino still trekking through, still breaking all of these pre-existing builds. Front side for now, hoping that he can stay concealed away from the team on height. You never know. The moment that he drops, ultimate low, currently controlled. Vico and Malibuca are the ones who are trying to cut some players off here. Vico with that mythic chaos too. Swizzy, Pixie, they're just trying to keep their distance for the time being. But Volko, Cringe, went straight into where Vico Malley just dropped into, but Vico gets the better end of the exchange. Cringe, so incredibly low, they're not going to be able to withstand the pressure here. Malley and Vico with just another extension of build materials to work with.
This is the first match today that Vico and Malabuka have gotten into top 10, and they are not disappointing. Chino with a big shot connecting as well. 12 HP is all that's left. He's going to be forced to drop down. Issue is, the team up above, they're going to capitalize on that. It might be just up to Swizzy. Pixie is out of shield. He's out of HP, but we've got our global champion. Show us what it takes. It might just be 6 pizza slices. Malabuka, are you going to be able to out-heal it?
It's the vending machine. That's where Swizzy was headed. He wants to make it to the vending, the patch-ups, the pizza. It's the perfect recipe for success here right now. Vico is hunting. Malabuka is hoping that they find it, but it's no good. Swizzy and Pixie.
والله ما بيستاهل.
Seem to have found momentum here today at Takata, and this victory royale should push them into that top 20 position.
47th place going into today, and now I want to see where that is. Rank 11 mini, what a match.
This is the duo we were looking to in the pre-show. We knew that they needed to have at least 5 fantastic endgames to be in with a shot of making it to LAN, but now Mini Miner, it's looking like top 10 could become a reality.
هرب بالأخير هرب. شاف إنه ما في أمل فهرب. لازم تسموت فورتنايت يعني لما يعني الظلم بتزغر أكثر خلص الفندنج ماشين ما تشغلهم.
But wow, this is a huge comeback, and I was saying in the back, if this is to be like a top 5 maybe for this team, is this maybe the best FNCS Grand Finals comeback ever? I can't think of a better one.
One of the better ones, right? I remember Ambulance having a really crazy one way back in the day that people always go on about. And then Takata said they were 47th yesterday. So far today, they've been the number 1 team, right? They've accrued the most points or tied at least with chauffeur and repairs as far as day 2 is concerned.
بس ما في فرق بين المركز الأول والثاني.
How terribly things were looking for them as far as summer qualification goes, and it's good to see, you know, both of them sort of have their impact on this game. Swizzy at the end holding down the 4. Pixie, a lot of people are looking at Pixie's numbers so far in the tournament and wondering when he's going to start to show us the Pixie we saw a lot of last year. And so it was good to see him again have a couple of eliminations alongside Swizzy. These guys are heating up and they're going to continue to rise in these standings.
Well, these are 2 of the best players we've ever seen on LAN as well. So everyone who's watching, we want these guys in the top 20, and we'll see if they can sustain. They just need a couple of really banging end games to make it. So let's head to a break. We'll see you in a few.
ما أعرف شو هو زعلان اليوم. زعلان كلمة بيغربش أصلاً هذا الإنسان هذا كبير يوم حاسس حال الراس كبير فيه. البطولة يعني خيو انسى مش هذا نجيبها ما أعرف تقرأ. حتى القراءة ما أعرف تقرأ. لكن كان كذبين كان مثلا هاي الجيم يعني حرام. أخذ بالغش مو غش خباز. هرب راح عند بندق ماشين وصار يجيب من الهيل. فهي خباز شوي. بس ما فرق. يعني بين المركز الأول والثاني ما في كتير فرق.
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting
يعني شوي بس
Not
إنه
like this. These
ما
players are
بظن إنه
just
يجيب
so
هذا المركز
lucky.
الأول الأخير
being the milk.
وعم يطير. عم يطيروا على كتير 500 و500 عندك وصل ل 600 وشوي. المركز الثالث والرابع والخامس هم هدول بعيدين. اللي فاز هلا من شوي وينه؟ ورجيك اللي فاز هلا. هذا هو. مركز 16. ما أقول لك يعني هو
We are
فاز
about
بس
to enter
إنه
the final quarter of the major one finals in Europe.
شوي بالخباثة.
It might not be all change at the very top of the leaderboard, but things are starting
لو
to
ما
shuffle
نهار
around in
كان
that
روح
top
طاح
20,
فيه.
and that's where our eyes have to be on because of qualification for the Major One Summit in Düsseldorf. So if you look to the big names on the board, Dam and Dimas, they did not have a great start yesterday, but a few great early games has managed to take them into top 10 contention. And you can see there in 16th, Swizzy and Pixie, after that victory royale that they desperately needed in our last game, Mini Minor, they are now in contention. We could be seeing them on that, which we didn't expect yesterday.
Really big these guys. It's actually nice not to have to scroll down all the way on the leaderboard to be able to see them. You only need to. We won't have to after this next game. Who knows? But yeah, really nice to see these guys rising up the standings. We all knew it was potential. We all knew they had the potential for it. It was almost like, what the heck yesterday? What's going on here? Really shocking. They fixed a lot of their mistakes and of course now found that winning formula as well. Really happy for these guys and actually hopefully they'll make land because they're a team that you want to see on land and you know they're gonna.
Well, let's take another look at the leaderboard because that was surely a focus in Thomas zone. They've been asking for this. They've surely been sending nice messages to Zeke, and yet they are in fourth now. They've actually been overtaken by Shawfall and Repairs, who are my favourite revelation of day 2 level.
Yeah, again, we keep talking about them, but because they keep on surprising us, not the best of their game so far today, right? A 10th place, you know, a bit more quiet in comparison, but they still showcase part of why, again, they are going to be a threat in this lobby, and that is they can still make it to these end games, they can still get deep into them and get enough place on points to just keep them ticking along in that top 5, and in this case, because of, you know, Focus and Thomas probably having one of their worst games of the weekend, they are even able to move up a spot as well. So really impressed by these guys still.
Yeah, we haven't really seen them in this position before, right? This is a completely new situation for them to be in terms of the leaderboard. So excited to see what they can actually do under these circumstances. 3 more games left for them. That was a little bit more favourable zone for them as well, a little bit further south of Flora End there, and of course Battlewood Boulevard. So, you know, it's kind of answered a couple of our questions about maybe this is a zone thing, because even for Thomas HD, a little bit closer, worse performance. What's that going to be for the rest of the games? Who knows?
Guys, I hate to be so dramatic, but that was a terrible game for Sky and Scroll. They only got 8th Mini Minor.
Oh, it's just not good enough, is it really? Packing in. No, it's nice. It's good to see these guys still performing well, even when they're not doing what we know they can do. But again, it's just another consistent end game. I feel like we can sort of cookie cutter every single time we come out of one of these games and talk about them. Nicely done from these guys again. Nicely done on these previous as well. It's nice to see teams still using those to their advantage and a favourable zone for them, Levin, with the fact that it's all right towards Battle Boulevard answers that question of what happens if they do get a favourable zone. They're still popping.
Yeah, these guys, I'm not worried about them at all, right? A top 5 is exactly what they've been doing all weekend long. They get another top 5 there. A bit unfortunate, right, with the overdrive, with how Swizzy and Pixie were so active. Sky ends up just getting beamed from above. Honestly, I was hoping he'd be able to even stay alive and maybe squeeze out a couple extra bits of placement. But this is the thing, it's a relentless tournament because even with how good they are, they must be getting frustrated at the fact that Chino and Pablo just refuse to fall off, right? They refuse to allow this tournament to just pass them by, and so they continue to be a threat in this one. We question whether or not they'd be, able to continue these types of performances when Zone isn't pulling directly on their POI. They must have just shut everyone up there right now because this was still the type of game we've been seeing from them all weekend long.
Yeah, lovely to see. They're outperforming Sky and Scroll in that last game. That's exactly what they need to do, finding eliminations along the way as well, which is exactly what we know that they can do. And they just got to keep chipping away now. They can't get too ahead of themselves. They've got to keep chipping away. Because we saw it yesterday. We saw Sky and Scroll did have a little bit of a wobble. It was their last game of the day yesterday. kind of games. So Gino and Pablo have got to just keep themselves calm, keep themselves in these end games, keep finding these top threes like they have been, because it's been pretty good so far.
And big ups to
interesting.
Chino now, just
Yeah.
because, you know, we all highlight, you know, how amazing Pablo is as a solo clutcher. Chino really pulling out some of his best stuff there and able to get a top three from that situation.
Yeah, 62 points difference between first and second right
And
now.
it
It
was-
really is
it was
another
nice.
battle of the days. I feel like we're so used to
والله
them now
ياخذ
in
مية
FNCS. But also when you look at the
وثمانين
numbers,
طلع.
average eliminations for Sky
هي
Squad
البطولة
4.89, Tino and Pablo is only
يعني
4.11. I say only. Not
مبلغ
much
الإجمالي
distance,
2
4.11.
مليون.
It's very
2
similar when
مليون.
it comes to
2
average
مليون.
placement as well. There is like
2 مليون بقسم
more
على
of a
50 واحد
percentage.
تقريبا
I'm very bad
أو
at maths, as you can tell. I should not be doing this on the broadcast. But
أو
basically, what I'm trying to
13
say is it's a very slim difference between these two teams, and the next game could make all the difference. So let's head into game number 10 with Taco and Takata.
Thank you, Frankie. It must be difficult. Pablo Gino getting top 10 every single game today, and it's still not enough, but I also want to think back down to top 20. Honey Fishy now in 21st place. They've swapped again with Sharkatini. Well, Sharkatini swapped way higher up than they have, unfortunately, but they are where Sharkatini started off today in. We also have Noah Riley and Reason, a duo that I'd like to see at the Summit 1 LAN in Germany. Hopefully they can make something happen here. Even Chap Flixie are in 17th. Assad Ifrozi. We've got so many of these big duos that are just right on that cutoff. And
هذا
we're getting closer
بيحكي
and closer
أكثر من اسبوعين يخرب بيتهم.
Yeah, and right now it's all about what's going to happen next because Game 10 is ready to go.
حتى المن مستغرب هذا بيحكي كثير يا
Like you'd already kind of alluded to
Let's
there,
take them on
Takata, we are seeing some of those slight movements, a little bit of shuffling in the leaderboard. Top 20, obviously always going to be the prize for every single one of these duos, but it's also more than that. Right now, we are looking for a Major 1 Victor Royale wielder, and I think it's only a matter of time before we have to decide between Sky Scroll, Pablo Gino. Before that, Pixie, Swizzy, just looking to wipe out Dark Dominion. They've been very aggressive up against Truly and Gonzo. So many people were so surprised at the way that this conversation had kind of gone yesterday. But Swizzy and Pixie, they have really just turned things around.
Gotta be careful though, Swizzy has been cracked. Pixie's gonna have to rack up some eliminations here. Good news is they are together. They got the initial knock, and Gonzo now gonna do what he can to bring Truly back. He should actually have time, so we'll see how this one closes out.
Just took Swizzy a couple more moments longer than we would like, but Pixie's still able to open up with a separate angle here. Truly does take a big chunk, but it's just not good enough. Swizzy and Pixie might have taken them a couple moments longer, but they still managed to close things out. Zippy and Journey, though, already looking to try and capitalize. Don't want to give Pixie and Swizzy an opportunity to sort of heal back up, but a couple seconds sooner, maybe that goes in Zippy's favor. Right now, though, that won't be the case. Neb's named it. They have to do the same sort of 180. Those last couple of lobbies really working against them, and Nebs goes down. Nathan fighting for his life, but it is another wipeout here at Humble Hills. Xteri and Adapted are just absolutely ruining Nebs and Nathan's position on the leaderboard right now.
47th game 1 today. 48 the second match, and then now
هذا البطولة الأوروبية الفريق
we're
الأوروبي.
in game 10 out of 12 combining both days, and I mean with just 2 matches left, I mean Nebs and Nathan were 11th going into this, so they're still in qualifying range, but they were contenders, not only top 5 to even top 3 or higher, and now they're just dropping lower and lower. But I mean, once they make it off spawn, they have had some very incredible performances, so with 2 opportunities left, I'm hoping they can make it happen.
It's unfortunately just seeming a little bit more like what would happen to them in some of those Div Cup finals during the offseason. You know, they get off to, they know how to be consistent. That's where it hurts with Nebs and Nathan. It's that they're obviously good players at holding their own and finding solid placements, but gotta make sure that you're doing it for every single lobby from this point out. Top 10, there's obviously some pretty big changes when it comes to the prize pool overall. It's not just the X champions that's up for grabs here after all.
Nico Malabuka just 1 point behind Thomas HD and Focus now. At 374 going into the match. They had a very big game. Issue is before that they were
دول من
struggling
المركز
with
الثاني
serve,
من
so
البطولة.
I mean we'll see where the zone pulls, we'll see how they play it out. But they've been keeping up the pace.
Well, look, when you think about the point disparity between Pablo, Gino, Sky, Scroll, it's still within striking range. 62 points is what separates those two right now. But what I'm really wondering is whether Sky and Scroll can anticipate just being able to make the same plays they've been doing. No one's really bothered intervening with their usual surge base. Sky already, it's like second nature to him at this point. Take over this hill, just a little bit north of Battlewood Boulevard, and wait to see how many tags you can collect after that. But Kido and
هذا هو
Hydro
المركز الأول.
probably able to see Scroll tossing out all of these essential items, heals. He's picking up. And what they're really waiting for is just that ambush, the sneak opportunities. They know that these two players are separated, and what I was going to ask Takata is, if you're Pablo Chino, do you play for big eliminations, or do you play to try and take Sky Scroll out early? Because I think that's the only way that we're going to see somebody overthrow them in first place. They've got to go down sooner than what they have been. Otherwise, they're going to make it into the top 10 every end.
أنا الواحد.
We've seen it historically. We've seen it at lands. We've seen it on different regions. It's always risky to do a spot change, but that's not the only option. You want to kick out one of the top teams earlier on. They know the side of the map they drop at. They could take a fight.
على ولا
I
حد.
think in terms of being on game 10, you don't make any of those risky changes yet. You play this match out, you see how it goes. I mean, they've made top 10 every game. Like you said, Sky Scroll have not only made top 10 every game as well yesterday, they held the consistency throughout the whole day. You kind of hope something changes here, but it is not the best position to be in. Considering, you know, Pablo Chino won that number 1 spot. You can see the exact point difference there at the top right. First and second, they are just leading the pack.
It's definitely pretty neck and neck between the top two right now on the leaderboard, but that's not to say we saw Sharkantini already have a crazy point jump off of just one Victory Royale placement. And that's the same thing that a duo like Thomas and Focus is going to have to replicate. They've had a really rough time trying to pull things into their favor. They haven't done poorly throughout this weekend by any means. They have definitely been able to convert some solid and in placement finishes. It's just they're going to need more than that. It can't just be good. It has to be great every single time from this point on if they want to find themselves in a realistic conversation. Bringing home the
ضل
Skies and
يعني شو
Scary
بدك من زون طلع.
have not matched their performance from yesterday. There's good news and bad news on this one. I mean, they've done so well in day 1 that they're still pretty
كم واحد
comfortably
الزون؟
in the qualifying range for the Summit 1 land, but they want more than that. They want to prove that they are a top team. And we've seen how quickly you can jump up the standings with big matches. Swizzy
7 بالزون.
has done it. But Sayas and Scary, we're going to need another pop-off match here today for them to come back.
But for a team like Size and Sketty, these are both players that have been around the scene for a decent amount of time. They're not new to this, but at the same time, you could argue that they were definitely new to being one of the leading teams in a Major 1 Grand Finals leaderboard, Takata. And so, how do you think that that's kind of impacted their performance here today? Because you would think, hey, maybe they can run it back, but that just has not been the case.
The thing is, they were playing incredibly well yesterday. They were playing incredibly confident, and I don't even think it was nerves. I don't think it was pressure. It was literally that one fight to kick off the day has kind of set the tone. The remainder of their matches.
غير اللاعبين مش ولا حركة ولا حس.
caused
إذا ما
struggle so
نزلها
much, but
مرة
ever
من
since the
دم
start
واحد
of the
طلع.
day, it's just been downhill. I don't know. They need something big to kind of fuel themselves up again, get that motivation, that confidence back from what we saw yesterday. But Kaido Haijo, they're going for the play. They're trying to catch Sky Scroll, our top team, off guard. Sky gets fully cracked now, down to 46 HP. Taco, this could be the change we've been looking for the Major 1 finals.
Oh, Kito's chasing, Ijo's chasing. They don't want to let Sky get away. He's trying to see where he can escape to. And just based off that red hand signal, he's heading straight deeper into the storm
لكنه تعرف
scroll.
الحركة.
Trying to see if he can play catch up, but this is a tough position now. Kito and Haijo, how badly do you want it? Because for Sky and Scroll, and this is definitely going to put a huge hiccup into their overall game strategy. They might be looking to see what else they can steal from inside of this Surge base, knowing that there's got to be some white heels possibly stuck left waiting, but no, Scroll! That was the intent! He just stole everything. He took all of the white heels with him. And for Kito and Haijo, this is just completely blown up in their face.
ما نضل عندي
They
هي.
needed to
بطلع
get
تعب
the
من الزوم.
elimination.
شو يطلب؟
And just missing out is not going to put him in a position to where it might be difficult for them to even escape Battlewood Boulevard in the first place.
Yeah, the reverse heist from Scroll. Just taking the pizza, taking all the whites. Yeah, you can see it happen right here.
Splashes.
That was yeah, everything. And then get splashing pizza, he just threw it all. That's a little hiccup for Sky and Scroll, but
لا يعني نكمل على الزوم.
seeing that both players are still up, it should be a pretty easy regroup.
ما أعرف المنطقة اللي
Continue on
كان
forwards.
كانوا بدو
Now they're
بالك
going to have to
ما
think
راح
about
لورا.
the rest of the lobbies if that's going to happen again. Teeny trying to see what else he can pop off with. Tweg, first elimination going to be confirmed here. Shark looking for the secondary one, and yeah, no problem whatsoever following up on his duo's aggression. So a good solid couple of eliminations to kick things off here.
يلا المركز
Day
الثاني.
10, but now kind of trailing back on over Pablo Chino. We saw them sort of leaving Sandy Strip pretty early on, and they've made sure to head a little bit further north.
شوف الناس شوف اللي جوات الزوم.
Solid
شوف
spot though for the time
شوف
being.
اللي برات الزوم.
Got a zone pulling more north here. I'm
Okay,
thinking
oh.
of Chap and Flixie right now. They have been kind of dropped down to 17th place on the leaderboard. They're just on the cutoff. Hoping we see them later on. Have a solid match here. They've been given the opportunity. Pablo Chino though, looking healthy obviously, despite having to rotate a little further than usual.
هذا هو المركز
man.
الأول.
It just keeps getting worse though. Over by Battlewood Boulevard, Sky trying to make his way on over. Kito and Haijo punished very heavily for their failed execution of that sneak play onto Sky. The bigger problem now to contend with though is that Belugi and Zangi are just hanging out nearby, and that's going to make it so problematic for either of these duos to kind of leave the area. I just feel like the third-party opportunity is still so prevalent here right now as Kito trying to escape from Scroll, playing a little bit of vengeance. Sky too. Doesn't matter who gets the shots. Both of them clearly want to get this elimination, settle the score once and for all.
2-1.
I don't know if you consider it revenge, but either way, Sky and Scroll definitely happy. Yeah, that's a big
هذا اللي من شوي هرب.
point to defend, but for Zangi and Belusi, this is still a little bit awkward for Sky and Scroll because they could potentially be cut off here. The zone has pulled pretty far north, and so they've got a lot of time and ground to make up for. And unfortunately, teams that are already based in better positions, they might just catch them when they're a little bit closer to the outskirts of the edge zone.
Let's see if they can live up to the hype, though. I mean, we've seen Sky and Scroll play consistent, even when zones pull far. So they're gonna have to prove themselves once again now, when the gap has been closing more and more between first and second. I drop Marius. This is a team that's right outside of the cutoff in 22nd place. They do need a big match here. They want to make it the Summit 1 land, but for that, they have to figure out the Storm Surge situation.
It doesn't have to look pretty. They just got to get it done. That's really all they're trying to defend right now is both their namesakes,
شباب اللي
Hydra
فاز
and
لو
Medius.
الجيم اللي فات
A
نشوفه
little bit of a
نشوف
tough position though.
نشوفه
They can get some good shots in here. They won't have to worry as much about that surge working against them, but Minori and Darkos, they are getting lobbied by everyone else. Hydra could be able to help
وقت نعمل
bring them
مع
just
هذا
above that surge threshold, but they are still looking every which way to see where else they could possibly try and get some shots in. They're able to bring down Kurama. That could be a really nice refresh for this duo. Their material count doesn't look bad, but and Takata, it's just elimination points. And potentially bringing yourself one placement closer where you need to be. Darko's going to be cleared up, though, by the lobby. Not really many other options when everybody is just looking at the one solo moving by.
Wondering what happened to Pico Malabuca. It's a very good zone for them. They're 76 below, struggling on mats, rotating late into the zone.
ستورم سورج
Yeah, this is just not the situation we want to see them in, especially with how good of a recent performance they just had, getting second with 12 eliminations. This is a team, they're always shooting for first place. They have experience in finals, they have experience in LANs, and the Surge being the first major finals we've had this net Surge is just showing how much it affects everything.
Part of the problem, though, at least for this lobby for Miko and
Alright,
Malabuca, is
so
just the
what-
fact that sometimes when you get these zone pulls, when you look to go and try and build your surge off of set strategies, teams just aren't going to be where you originally kind of expected them to be at, right? Everybody's rotating a little bit differently. These big surge bases, everybody marks up clearly from the elevation points, but Sky, Scroll, they've managed to come this far. They've made it into Wonky Land. Their build count looking a little bit scuffed here. They definitely love a fight, definitely love a refresh. Tom is going to lose focus. Caught in a little bit of that congestion now, trying to see if he can elevate his position. Avoid some of the promotion underneath, but Sky, Scroll, they got exactly what they were after. They're going to take down Thomas HD, and they'll be forced to sit and wait to see what Game 11 has in store. But the Danes just continuing to extend their position on the leaderboard.
I feel bad for Thomas and Focus. Sky and Scroll on one side, Swissy, Pixie on the other. Really just not what you want to see going into the zone. Still got 2 more matches. Clean it up though. Sky and Scroll, Twizzy, Pixie, they've set themselves up. Beamish and Darm as well. Managed to bump themselves up to 7. But what I got my eyes
دول
on
المركز الثاني
is if Chino and Pablo are going to be able to close the gap in this match.
I don't know, the way that Deemish and Darm were moving just then, it looked like they were very interested in the fight that was taking place with Reason on rally a couple other teams. Definitely wanted to get a bit more aggressive here. Hanging out towards that front side, but Shark Teeny, same intentions. 889 above currently on the surge damage threshold. With the way the zone is pulled, Pixovsky, no chance. Then rolling down, flip face. He'll be eaten alive by the rest of the lobby, but Miko, Malabuca, Huddy, all trapped amongst each other. Miko at least trying to see if he can net these 4 elimination points. He's got the knock. Malabuca waiting to see if he can confirm the finish, and sure enough, Miko and Malabuca, while they found some additional points here, they're still below on the surge threshold, and they're not going to have that chance to recover, at least not as a team. Miko, left by his lonesome, does bring down Benign. A little bit of siphon, going to pay huge dividends here for Miko. Big refresh on materials too, but the lobby is looking in, and it's looking to take down Miko. He doesn't get the chance to even break into that edge of zone. Cleaned up by the rest of the lobbies. Twy, Cringe, overtake now from height.
Take a quick look at what Chino's been up to. They were below going into this end game, but all it's going to take are a few good shots connecting, and it could be enough. Twy, up above, could be a potential very good zone for them. Pulls back over to that hill, currently sitting at 9 for Swizzy and Pixie. They've already proved themselves throughout the day. We were close to having a devastating kind of land in the sense that our global championship trio, almost all of them, could have not made it. But the job isn't done for Swizzy and Pixie yet. They're still in 16th place going into this match, despite all the solid performances. One more good one though would help them solidify it. But Sharkantini, they also are looking for the win.
They want to go up. Gene and Giannis might have beat them to it. One fun part about whenever the zones pull into this forest territory of Little Stumpy is that players can just connect right onto the treetops themselves and cheat in Giannis. The overhead
بس
view
من
currently
فوق
eagle
تكون ما في
eye
حدا فوق
vision.
بس
They've
انت
got to make
بتكون
sure
مسيطر
that
من
they're
فوق
keeping tabs
عم
on
تشوف
where
كيف
secondary
ايش
height is
تحتك
at, especially when it's a duo like Shark and Teeny just waiting for the perfect time to strike. They continue targeting underneath, but they'll opt to drop a mild layer swap. Still hanging out towards frontside zone. Chino, Pablo, a little bit more in that backside position. Kind of wrapping around. I'd have the sneak jump, hunt a Mumsy, and sky jump. Trying to break in. Pickaxe throw, it's good. Chino gets the first. Pablo helps him get the second. Sky jump and Mumsy just never stood a chance here as they continue working their way forward.
Perfect couple of eliminations. It was a duo that was looking healthy as well. Sharkantini, though, it's their time to strike. Now looking for not only the height, but also a couple of eliminations alongside it. Giannis cheated, put in the panic as Cheatin is down to just a sliver of HP. Giannis left them alone as now Sharkantini have control.
But everything is just so open-ended right now. Sky, he's gonna have to get the job done all by himself here. Currently, ultimate low, but he is just so far away from where Hyde is currently positioned. Still trying to make sure that his position isn't too heavily revealed, but it's just not good enough. Loses a big chunk of his HP. Has to use up his last couple of pizza slices even. Overdrive grenade effects at least gonna help him. But without any materials left to work with, he's got to connect with a big pump shot. He has to find it now. He's get a little goodie bag out of Giannis's loot, but still more problems pouring in here. Sky, only so many places left to run. Looking back now, gets cringe in the process though. That's gonna be his fourth. And the eliminations just underneath them though. Pablo, Chino, they've scouted out this solo. Don't know if they realize that it's Sky just yet, but Sky scrambling, trying to avoid them. It doesn't matter how, when, or why, as long as he can stay alive. Just a couple of placements further. Medius not going to be brought down just yet, but Sky finally cut short there by Shakos, and that just leaves Pablo and Chino to play catch-up here from Ultimate Low.
It was actually Chino who took down Skrull, so they know this is the chance to make something happen, but they cannot let it go to waste. Pablo goes down, Chino's left alone. He has more than enough loot, but the issue is, how's he gonna make it back? Swizzy, Pixie, on the other hand, both players healthy, looking to control low, but the pressure for height, it might just be too much. Pablo gets finished now, Chino.
But this is the recovery tour of a lifetime right now. Swizzy and Pixie, Chino still deep inside of the storm, but he's gonna take down Medius, waiting for that siphon to kick in. He needs it now more than ever. Stuck as a solo in the backside of the zone, and Sharkantini way overhead, still applying so much pressure onto all these teams underneath. I drop forced to just try and drop down to ultimate low here, but he might just drop straight into where Swizzy and Pixie are at. They're going for the top. Shark's gonna be the first one to the punch though. He brings down Swizzy. Now it's just Pixie left in the solo clutch scenario, but Sharkantini, once they get rolling, they don't seem to stop. Pixie has height, but it's only temporary. He'll be forced to drop eventually. Teeny, Shark though, low on materials, trying to get the chop. It's the 1 versus 2. They're looking for their second victory royale, and they find it, no problem whatsoever. It's a different day for Shark and Teeny.
It is night and day comparing to yesterday, going into today in 21st. I don't even know where they're going to be on the leaderboard after the second win of the day. The expectations have been met. This is the Sharkantini that we wanted to see. Desk.
بحياته ما راح ينخلط هيد شوت
I'm feeling electrified now. Teeny has to have such a strong faith now in this duo, not only making it to land, obviously they're going to make it to land, but also performing on land. He's teamed up with the most talked about player arguably in Chapter 7, at least in the European side of things, Levin. And now we're getting to see Shark really perform in a final.
It is great to see these guys have the day 2 resurgence, right? We've seen a lot of players have a bit of a day 2 resurgence, but I think this one in particular will inspire people. Because after day 1, I think a lot of people were looking at Sharkantini and saying, hey, these boys, man, their chain might be fake. I don't know if we can rate them how we really been rating them this season. And today has shown that no, these guys are two of the most talented players. They do have the ability in some of the most difficult lobbies to deliver, to perform. Regardless of what happens now as far as where they end in the leaderboard, as long as they qualify for something, I think they will continue to remain a team that people expect to do big things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of the same as what I said for Swizzy and Pixie earlier on. The best teams come back strong on day 2. They look back at where things went wrong, particularly if they had a bad day 1. And this is a prime example of that for Sharkatini right now. The way that they took high heat was really nice as well. They were sort of sneaking up on Janice and cheated, and they did a really nice play to sort of force them down. And once they're in this position, there's just only one way the game is ending. The way that Tini knows he has that experience, he knows when to go down, when to stay up. He knows how to play these end game situations. And even this at the end, lovely shot. I think it was from Shark actually. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful stuff. And I think that should get inside of that top 5, which is very, very surprising for me, because going into this weekend, I didn't think they would do it because of their situation.
I'm wondering with this
فايزين
duo,
جيمين
I think
ورا
something
بعض
else
جيمين
that
يعني مش
seems
ورا
to
بعض
pop on
فايزين
day
بالجيمين
2, very quickly, and I'm probably wrong on this, but I feel like in the heats, obviously these duos, they're playing for
والمركز الثاني
consistency. They obviously
ما
it's great to
نفايز
get victory
بولا
royale,
جيم.
but really what they're trying to do is just make sure they hit their benchmarks in those 5 games. Now that we have got 12 games on our hands, we're starting to see these teams adjust to a different way of playing Fortnite. And maybe that's one of the reasons that day 2 is a different side for example, the likes of Sharkatini, Swizzy, Pixie.
المركز
I mean,
الأول
there's always in every
هذا
grand
تقريبا
tournament watch, there's
50.
always a big difference, I think, between how day 2 plays
المركز
and how day
الثاني
1 plays.
هتلاقي 44.
To adjust and learn from
المركز
mistakes
الثالث
and
تقريبا
Yeah, let's
القادم
head to
كمان
April.
50.
When we come back, let's talk
المركز
about some of
الثالث
the other big names on the leaderboard.
اللي فاز من شوي. بس يعني هاي المركز الأول بعيد. المركز الأول بعيد سنين شوي. خرب بيتكم. يعني ما حدا بيجيبه. صعب كتير إنه نجيبه. جاتهم هذا الجيم قبل الأخير أو بعد الأخير. صعب. إنهم يواجهون الصعوبات. نعرف.
ضيفي سعد.
صناديق.
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten.
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
You know.
صار البطولة أخذ منحدر ثاني. هلا يعني هذا الجيم قبل الأخير بعديها الجيم الأخير. هيكون يعني كل واحد راح يثبت نفسه، خاصة المركز الثاني يعني ممكن يقلب الطاولة. حتى المركز الثالث يعني ممكن يقلب الطاولة.
We've got 2 more games to go today, and a lot of big name duos are indeed bouncing back. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where things stand before we head to game 11. And game 11 is where everything can truly change. So as you can see, Sky and Scroll are at the top, but again, their win is not secured. 42 points between them and Pablo Chino, who are having a fantastic day too. It doesn't matter where the zone goes, these guys are making it to the end games consistently. And if we take a look at Sky and Scroll, yes, they didn't have the best game again there, but what a performance from Sky Mini Miner to clutch his way to 8.
Yeah, even in that mid-game, Kaito and Hydro caused him a few problems, but still making it here into this end game. And earlier on, I was like, maybe you'd want Scroll solo clutching based on how this weekend's gone. I'm gonna eat those words. I was wrong. Sky absolutely popped off right here, doing unthinkable things really from what we've seen from players this weekend. I mean, he's just jumping around, finding shots with no builds as well for most of that 11, and just unbelievable stuff. Sky, these are the sort of performances that can win you.
Absolutely. You know, I think back to some of my favorite duo FMCS wins of previous years and chapters. I think back to Swizzy and Vanya when they won, and they won off the back of great performances, but amazing solo clutches from both Swizzy and from Vanya. I think, again, if they were to walk away here with the FMCS Championship, Sky and Scroll would be able to say the same thing. They would win, not just through their sheer consistency, but off the back of great clutches from Sky and Scroll throughout these 12 games.
And it just speaks volumes about their day yesterday. They're still in the top spot because Pablo and Chino, yes, they've had to do a bit of clutching to keep maintaining their performance in those end games, 11-2K, but they are really maintaining and almost setting the pace here now in the lobby.
They're closing the gap. Don't allow these guys to get a comeback. I'm telling you, this play right here says everything for me. Right into the box. We're gonna just take the fight to your face. They win. It keeps them pushing, keeps them ticking. Again, we've been highlighting the solo clutches from the first place duo. They were the ones that forced Sky into a solo clutch situation, and then they have to do it themselves when they're squeezing out points. Again, both these teams are just playing at an unbelievable level, Mini. Chino again showcasing why he is such a talented player. That shot right there, the 180, just to hit the one pump to keep himself in it. This shot onto Marius as well, he did not see it coming. I mean, wow, these players are unbelievable today.
Yeah, they're a team playing with so much confidence, and it's not something that we've seen throughout the rest of the season. Now they're really turning up to 11 here for these major finals. It's something that I really want to highlight, and something that I think is super important. If you're a Pablo, Wingu, and Chino fan, you've got to be excited about this. If you're a Sky and Scroll fan, you've got to be a little bit wary. Is remember at the beginning of the show, we were talking about their game 3 yesterday. It was that wonky land zone. We said, yeah, that was the game where they didn't have a very good one. They got a 20th or something. We had a pretty much exact same zone right there, and look what they have done. They bounced back from that mistake that they made in that game 3 yesterday, and given pretty much the same circumstances, they get a 4th with 7 on limb. So they've answered those questions we had for them at the beginning.
I just want to ask them so badly about how they prepared for everything last night, what they did with their time, but we don't have much time to even speculate about that. We've got to head to page number 2, because all eyes have to be on Swizzy and Pixie right now. They were 48th going into today. They've already scored 289 more points than they did yesterday, given that yesterday they ended on 24 points. This rise is astronomical. If they can repeat the performance of the last game, 11, they're absolutely making top 10.
They ain't done yet. I'm telling you right now, they are not done yet. They're gonna keep on fighting. They have found their rhythm in this lobby. They have found that understanding. They have that connection. Everybody's bigging up against Swizzy's performances. We have seen Swizzy put on all-time great performances to win FNCS in previous years, right? We know his ability to do that. Pixie again showcased why. As much as maybe he would have had a forgettable day 1, he's doing enough to keep them in it, keep the story going for them. And like I said, they're not done yet. They're going to finish in that top 10.
It's also a little bit of disappointment, sorry Frankie. It's like, why did we see this yesterday? If we saw this yesterday, maybe we'd have it even closer to them at the top. It's like, why didn't they do this yesterday? But they're figuring it out now when it matters most for them on day 2, and hopefully these last 2 games will be great for them as well.
And everyone obviously wants to win a Major 1 title, but it means so much more to do it on LAN, and we know that these are 2 players that can get it done on LAN. Some players already tweeting that they've made it to Dusseldorf, but again, you cannot know what's decided until we have finished game 12. There's still 2 more games remaining. Let's get into game 11 with Taco and Takata.
Swizzy and Pixie have done more than just find their rhythm in day 2 of our Major 1 Grand Finals, Takata. These fellas might as well be hitting Pachata, okay? Because they are absolutely popping off, and it's so awesome
أي
to see
بان
this
بكتير.
kind of resurgence.
أي لاجل
and
أمريكا دي
just them
كان لاجل
coming into
بريطانيا.
form for what we know that their standard is typically at, but it's not easy to have that sort of mental bounce back. I think a lot of duos would definitely struggle when they're in that kind of position. And if anything, one thing that it does kind of remind me of is I remember, I want to say it might have been chapter 5, but I believe Lucky Ocus when they went from 42nd to like 12th on NAC. Granted, NAC is obviously not EU, but I do think it's just cool to see duos that are able to overcome those kinds of debts.
It really is. I thought it was going to take longer to see Swizzy Pixie get to where they are now on the leaderboard, but I mean, they've solidified themselves in a great spot. The battle bus is ready. Let's head right on to game 11.
Things are starting to get very spooky right now, though, Takata. Game 11. Major 1 Grand Finals. Only one lobby left to go. So if there's anything, any kind of new strategies that duos might be wanting to experiment with, this is going to be one of their last possible efforts to bring it forth. But Skies, Chino, Pablo, what are you doing next to each other? Chino and Pablo, they want to take this for themselves. They're not leaving it up to fate. Who's going to be the first one down the hill? Sky beats them to the punch. Chino is down. Pablo is finished. Sky and Scroll win out with the surprise off-spot contest.
Are you kidding me? We've seen this in the Invitational. We've seen this in various regions, but now to kick off 2026 in the EU FNCS Major Finals, Sky and Scroll are solidifying themselves in that first place. They do not want to let anybody shake them out of it. There was a bit of trouble in the last match, and now the second place team, Chino and Pablo, wanted to put themselves in that first place spot. But after Sky and Scroll just won that fight. Now Chino and Pablo, they are in a world of trouble.
This is our FNCS.
That's
That's
the
all I'm
خصمك.
thinking is running through the minds right now for Sky and Scroll. A message has been sent and delivered, stamped and confirmed. Pablo and Chino, that was going to be their best opportunity to try and close the gap. I don't think that it's going to be possible for them to run that back here in game 12 because everything hinges upon whether or not Sky and Scroll have a stunning performance here today, Takata. And if we're basing it on this weekend, that's just not in the cards.
It's literally what has to happen though. For Chino and Pablo, Sky and Scroll would have to go down before
حتى
the end of the game.
هذا حركة غبية يعني ليش عم تعملها يعني لا تستهين خصمك في النهائية لا
It's not
تستهين
gonna look
خصمك
like it will end up that way.
أنا ما بعرف
Kira
يعني
Kurama
مقصودة
actually
ولا لا
switching up
لا
the
مش
strategy
هيك
a little bit. They do land south of Frigid, but now they've decided to take an early rotate to Dark Dominion. They know how contested it's been. Hopefully, it doesn't mess up Swizzy and Pixie's strategy. I just realized Swizzy did go down though, so Pixie's left as a solo now in a 1v2.
Kira Kurama, this is also different sightseeing for this duo. They've had enough of the north portion of the map. It has not been working out for them. So they're going to play surprise contest, but it's just going to help out truly indirectly, truly taking shots now at Akira. On his shield, but Pixie being eliminated. At the end of the day, Swizzy and Pixie have done a lot to play catch up, but it is still so difficult to deal with those kinds of last minute surprises. Shartini though, Honey and Fishy were already outside of the qualification range, and with Tini and Shark being in third place to kick off match lottery number 11, it's no surprise that they look for the immediate 50-50. It is a nightmare scenario right now for Honey and Fishy. Their hopes of land rest purely on how badly does Shark and Tini want to keep them locked out of it. And Takata, it doesn't matter where Honey Fishy try to go, Shark and Tini are going to find them.
Yeah, they've got one thing in mind. Look, I know a first place finish is very great for the EU Major Finals, Shark Tini being in third.
بس
But
يعني
I think
بيعملوا
their
المركز الثاني هو
priority
حركة
is making
غبية
sure that Honey and Fishy do
مين
not
ينزل مع
make
مركز
it
أول أخي لا
to
تستهين
summit one
بخصمك
major land
ليك ها
over in Dusseldorf.
خسرت
And
الجيم
so far,
يمكن تخسر
it's looking like
محل
it
المركز
might end
الثالث
up that
والله
way.
جابوا
Honey Fishy were 25th.
جابوا كلات أكتر
Going
بتخسر
into this
مركزك
match, and
كمان يعني
now
حركة غبية
eliminated off spawn by Shark and Tini.
تنزل
So
مع
many big
خصمك
changes
المركز الأول هذا حركة غنية.
Now I've got so many
لا
things
ما
going
أعرف
on in
هي
mind, I've
كانت
got
صدفة ولا لا، بس يعني
some
هي
teams
كانت
just
حركة
on the edge
غبية
there. Noah
صراحة.
Reason, Chad Flixie, Ari Kami, Skyjob Mumsy. We also have now
يعني
Shane Pablo.
حلقة يعني شو
Hoping
اسمه
that
يعني
Sky's role might go down.
بالأول
in the
الجيم
end,
يعني
but
لسه
that does not
الجيم
happen.
يعني
The
كان
gap between
تازة.
first and second is about to skyrocket.
خليك باللوبيا مركز الثاني
Bears for sure for
خليك
them. Kiri,
استنى
couple of love taps into repairs his shields.
خليك
Still,
بالمركز الثاني
they're
لبين
back.
نخلص الجيم
They don't
وانت
get the
تخسر
opportunity to
نقاط
try and
وفي
return the
الجامعة
favor
الثانية
here.
بيحصلوا نقاط.
Bears ensure for
السلام عليكم.
call it
وعليكم
sort of
السلام.
day,
وأنا
looking
والله
for
أخوي
a real dark
محمد.
horse contender here. I don't think many people, if anyone
يعني
at all,
حركة غبية
place
يعني
them
بالغبي يعملها.
into a top 5 leaderboard position.
ليه وشوف هذا المركز الأول الذي صار 640 يعني أنت يعني المركز الثاني كان الوحيد اللي بينافس بس على الحركة الغبية سووه بحياته ما راح ينافس ولا حد يعني صعب. حتى الجيم قبل الأخير حتى الجيم الثاني الجيم الأخير يعني صعب. في حال إذا بدك تكسب ما في غير المركز الثالث يمكن يكسب من شلون إنه يفوز هالجيمين الأخيرين ويجيب كذات كتير فيمكن يكسبهم يمكن. فهيك صعب. المركز الأول بعيد 100 وشوي في فرق يعني إذا في فرق بين المركز الأول والثاني المركز الثاني 500 شوي فما بالك المركز الثالث 400 دقيقة 400 شوي كان على النقطة. المركز الأول 600 وشوي كبيرة بس هذا أول بطولة يعني بطولات هيك يعني بالآخر شيء بصير حماس. هلا يعني هلا في شوي حماس بس مو كثير بس لا هلا تعرف ليش في حماس؟ لأنه هذا الجيم اللي قبل الأخير بعدين الجيم الأخير فلازم عالم تشوف حالهم مشان تصير توب 10 إذا توب 10 مشان الجوائز على ما أظن تحت يعني توب 10 ما بيحصل شيء يعني ما بيحصل شيء أما التوب 10 فما فوق إيه الجوائز. المركز الأول بحصل اللهم صل على النبي $80,000 لأنه البطولة كلها هذا يعني قيمة إجمالية للبطولة 2 مليون يعني كان مركز 10 يعني كل واحد حسب مركزه اللي بيطلع بس المركز الأول بيطلع له $180,000 بس ما بعرف $180,000 للشخص ولا للشخصين لأنه هذا دو كل واحد بحصل على $180,000 ولا اثنين بحصلوا على $180,000 هاي بتحصل بس ما بس يمكن كل واحد بس صعب سينا جايزة مليونين الله يعلم بدي أحسبها. هذول المركز الثالث هذول لعبوا حلوة يعني بيلعبوا تحسهم يعني بيلعبوا حتى بالأخير يعني بالراحة بيجيبوا لك كيلات كتير يعني حتى واحد منهم كان لحاله جايب 7 كيلو لحاله. الفرق بينه وبين المركز الأول بالكيلات كان كتير. المركز الأول كان جايب 50 كيلو هذوليك لما بلشوا البطولة كانوا جايبين 30 كيلو هيك شيء فجأة صار متساويين جيب كيلات كتير لعبة حلو حتى فايزين مرتين. المركز الثاني ولا جيم فايز فعم بشوف إن البطولة عم تشتغل هي الكيلات أول شيء الكيلات بعدين الفوز الكيلات بعدين الفوز. المركز الأول كان جايب كيلات كثير وعنده فوز 2 فلا هيك هدول النقاط أنا ما أظن لا مش للبطولة وحدة في بطولة قبلي كمان لعبوا فيعني بطولتين هي جولتين عفوا جولتين لأنه البطولة عبارة عن 12 جيم فلعبوا 6 جيم قبلي فدول 6 ثاني
So many other teams might have been able to take
مركز السابع كمان راح قدام
from that POI, and I think that's why we're seeing a little bit more glittering throughout Battlewood Boulevard. Even teams kind of just more willing to scavenge those southern sections of the map to make their way through. Panzer, Yapko, gliding overhead, calm before the storm, touching down where the rest of the lobby's at.
There's a team that lands close to Chino and Pablo, but saying that they're just heading north already, we don't really know if they were able to kind of capitalize on that.
دولف وين مش هيدخل الزون البيت كنا
well. Like you said, the calm before the storm, second to last match of the major. A lot of pressure on these players' shoulders.
They have had a decent weekend, still sitting in that 13th position, and currently with only one lobby left to work with here, it's pretty sensible to believe that teams that are within that top 13 should be pretty much confirmed for that summit land location spot. But ultimately, you don't want to leave things up to chance. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. You want to make sure that you play out these lobbies as thoroughly as possible, because it's going to be last two opportunities that all of these teams get. Teeny, Shark still lingering over by Wonkyland too, so when you think about teams like Yepco, Panzer opting for those deep north side, dead side rotations, you gotta keep an eye out for where Shark is getting up to. And honestly, Shark Teeny, the 2 wins that they've gotten, both 100+ point games if I'm not mistaken, right? Just based off the additional elimination, basically 100-point games each time. And hey, you never know. Pablo Chino being taken out super early on. Sharktini, if they go for the hat trick, it's going to start to get a little dangerous for who's actually going to finish in that top 2.
That's what I was thinking. You know, they've got a big smile on their face. Everything's going well. They eliminated Fishy Huddy off spawn. No one will have to worry about Wonkyland, and now the second place team that was right above them has gone down with 0 points. It's their perfect opportunity to overthrow them. Sure repairs another team in that top 5. They're trying to get above Vico Malapuka, Sayas Scary, yet to show us that they have what it takes to continue with their performance from yesterday, now dropped to 8th. These players aren't even focused on qualifying to the LAN anymore. They're focused on getting the best placement possible.
Besides, it's scary. Compared to yesterday, it's kind of been a day to forget. Ever since that opening blow against Azad, losing the 1v2, it's definitely seemed like it's pretty much put so much hesitancy into how much confidence they really want to invest for some of these fights. I mean, we're just not witnessing the same duo that we did in yesterday's lobbies, but still definitely respect the performance they put in, because it's left them in a position where they don't have to be too pressed over today, because at least they know they've got the Summit Land locked in.
Looking over at what Thomas is up to. Thomas is known for his AR aim. It was actually Nebs. They've had such a tough day as well. Nebs and Nathan. One of both players actually did end up going down after that. Thomas HD and Focus though, they are sitting in 6th place right now. Good news for them. It's 5th and 6th. The gap is not nearly as much as it is from 3rd to 2nd or 1st. So they have a very good chance they can at least push themselves into top 4.
والله نسيتها ما
that leaderboard overview. Dharma and Demish, 7th place team, has been eliminated. They've been very key heavy in today's matches ever since they were able to pretty much confirm maintaining top 20, but hey, never want to bite up more than you can chew, especially when there's so many duos that are also still so hungry to see how many more placement points they can climb up. learning points,
من
learning
ضربوا.
pains, growing pains too.
قاعد
Regarding
كمان
here,
وراهم.
Twy and Cringe, 51 below currently. Zone pool just outside Squiggly Shores. They're gonna be harassed now by some of these surge ticks. They've got Miro and Joshua on the other side of their builds, but
إذا واحد ضربك
can they force the engagement?
واحد يطلق
I
عليك
think they wanna
كل
get
الناس
those
بيطلقوا
first,
عليك
which is
يا
good. They'd
زلمة
rather
في
see
ناس
if they can
لا
just net a couple attacks from afar. Be much easier to work with than having to go for 50-50 and risk placement. Get to the teams. Berg will be isolated and brought down. That's a big break right now for Twy and Cringe.
I'm almost more scared for Hari and Cappy that are right beside them, considering that they're 19th right now. Right by the cutoff, but for repairs, ensure
ما بتعرف من وين
looking
بدك
so
تبدأ.
right in 5th place. The damage was there, but now repairs is left as a solo,
ستورم سولو.
forced to close this game out alone. No heals, no shield, and just one overdrive grenade. This is really not where you want to be.
Hydra just stayed a little bit too long inside that last zone. Sure, you get the surge you were looking for, finding the elimination, but ultimately teams that are already based in just better positions, kind of keeping repairs at bay right now. He's gonna have to wait for the rest of the lobby to move first before he can even consider trying to depart his
57 واحد.
current box position. Twy and Cringe though, picking back up where they left off. Now there's a little bit of flow state happening here, okay? Another nice little elimination pick off there. All that matters right now is making sure that you stay above that surge threshold.
هذول المركز الأول.
Elimination points never hurts.
No, it does not. Sky and Scroll, they've made it back now from the stressful early game that didn't really last too long. That pressure was quickly relieved. Nico Malabuka, 4th place right now. They're trying to put
لازم المركز
top
الثالث
three.
تستحيله.
The way Shark continue
إذا
looking, though,
الجيم
it's going to be
كمان
tough.
يعني في إنه أمل.
So far, they are looking to be managing Surge better than they have been in previous games, but you do have to be a little careful. Being on the edge of zone now, a very long rotate to go. Let's hope they can make it.
But it's Vico Malabuka Takata. When's their victory royale going to happen? This is a duo that I'm real surprised that we haven't seen them have at least one win throughout the matches that have taken place already here today. And don't get me wrong, top 5 obviously indicates that they've had relatively strong performances when they needed to. But I want to see them fully lock in. I want to see them convert endgame into a victory royale. I wouldn't hate to see it better late than never after all, but for Sky and Scroll, just another elimination added to the pile. 3 in total. 558 above now, make that 566 for the surge threshold. But the point is, they've got more than enough to work with. They're fully aware of where Ultimate High is at, and fortunately for us, we got a little look back, see he's more for the neck. Trying to keep tabs on what's in front of him, never know what's coming from behind, and unfortunately, that was just too much pressure to deal with. Great collapse there by Sky and Scroll.
This is not what you want to see if you're Chino and Pablo right now. Even Shark TV, if they have a big match, it's going to put them closer and closer to that 2nd place spot. That is not what Pablo and Chino want to lose. It's now 409 above, but you got to be careful. Both players instantly gone down in the blink of an eye. Shark and Tini get eliminated by Cringe and Twy.
Shark and Tini, they wanted to be set up for that front-sided zone, but sadly, that's just not going to go in their favor. The dangers of playing back-sided zone, when it pulls the opposite way, is players that were a little bit late to the party being able to pick you up along the way. Hydro and Keto now taking advantage of their position on height. Good suppressive fire, good suppressive measures. Shots into assets over shield, but at the same time here, no knocks just yet. Got a good connection to their original surge point, but Nico, they're gonna send it. They want front side. Mid layer, torping through. Very adamant, keeping tabs on everything surrounding them. Nico now looking for some aggression onto Nero and Joshua. They find the first. Can they get the second? They might not need it after all, though. Content to just wait. That little bit of siphon materials. That's exactly what they needed.
It's a big opportunity for Vico and Malabuka, though. Seeing that Shark and Tini went down, it's their chance to get top 3 now. All they need is a decent match here. And for Sky and Scroll, they just want to keep expanding that gap between first and second. And if Scroll doesn't get caught off here, it looks like they're going to be able to manage it.
Keep an eye though on Cringe and Twy. They start scaling their way up the hill face. Sky, Scroll, if they're not careful, you never know. More above might disappear, and for Chapin, Flixie, Sayas, and Scary have managed come knock in and collect. But look at Sky, Scroll, they were headed so deep into the storm. Blueberry Mist Grenade, they're starting to tarp up. Height has no idea. They're not looking this far back into where the storm is at. Arco and Kira, another duo that's hurting, but Scroll and Sky, they're willing to send it. Frontside challenge onto Height. It's just not high enough though. And they'll be forced to drop just a little bit, but the damage might have been done. Haruko and Kira had the same exact intentions. Focus, Thomas now gonna throw themselves up onto the high ground. Thomas won't be able to make it just yet, but he's waiting to reconvene with Focus. High ground is being sent into absolute shambles right now. Haruko's gonna be the first one to fall from it, but no O'Reilly. Reason, they've got business up top as well. No one's gonna send it. One more overdrive grenade into the skies here. They can't take out Aikido. Reason and Noah punished for trying to overthrow Aikido will finally get brought down though, and Thomas, Focus, they're looking to be the ones to actually have control. And no, it's Sky and Scroll in similar fashion, but Scroll, he's gonna be knocked. No one can get a footing here on Height.
The bouncy house of chaos. Sky now is left alone. Just a sliver of HP's gone down as well. Thomas falls. Haijo up top. They started with Height after the chaotic high ground retakes from who knows how many teams. Haijo has ended up once again looking to claim it, but Focus is doing what he can to overthrow. Haijo drops. He's out of builds. He does have the HP and shield advantage, but without any mats to play with, it's just making it that much more difficult.
But for all of those teams, we saw like 5 different duos send it. One of them got fully eliminated. The other 4 left in solo positions now. But Focus, somehow, some way, he's still on top. Medius and Hydra trying to see now if they can be the ones to truly overrule the high ground. And Focus as a solo, he'll have to give it up. He's forced to drop here. Medius trying to see what kind of refract he can pick up after the fact. Hydra want to send it downstairs. Cringe and Twy directly behind, but they're not going to be able to escape Hydra from Medius' vision. 6 eliminations already for Medius and Hydra. They knew that they needed a big pop-up performance here today, but Focus lurking. He could play spoiler here. Twy's looking up. He's not looking next to him. Focus just needs to get the opening shot here, but he's still lurking, crouching, crawling around these front side layers. Instead, the fuse is built. The pickaxe is going to be revealed. He can't withstand it. The player altogether has taken him down, but Cringe does lose to corner. I drop and Medius looking to bring this one home. Just one more elimination. Just another set of 4 points to go to the count. Cringe trying to see what he can manifest here, but he's stuck inside the storm. He doesn't have a whole lot left to contend with here. Medius, though, with no eye drop, he's just gonna stay inside of zone. He knows only 2 builds remain. This is the time. Medius, he totals 40, does it again. Victory Royale to close things. Game 11 for Medius and
جابوا والله جابوا هيد شوت بحاله ما راح ينسى. يلا ما في مشكلة تعوض بكرة. وين الفاران
with the amount of points that they have just secured. I am almost sure that we will be seeing them in Dusseldorf. What a way to close out the second to last match of the day. Congratulations to iDrop and Marius. This is what we wanted to see from them. Frankie, Levin, Vinny, it's getting intense.
It really is. 100% agreed with you there, Takata. Marius and iDrop were 30th going into day 2. And they're another one of these experienced duos who understand the importance of that fantastic performance on day 2. You're not done after day 1, Vinny.
No, you're not. And it's really great to see these guys really rising up the standings. We've been talking a lot about Swizzy and Pixie today and how they've just been surging up the leaderboards. But Marius and iDrop, they've been quietly improving game in, game out. And this is really nice to see them finally pick up that well-deserved win right there. We saw it from Marius in the heat. We saw him solo clutching their way from about top 25 or something to make it here, and now still doing it in the major finals as well, getting that final shot to win Lemon. Really excited about these guys. Really excited to see them land as well.
Yeah, I think these guys ultimately understand what about Fortnite. All that matters is recency bias. As long as they end the day in a decent enough
جاي
position,
درعم
we
عليه.
can forget all the other 10, 11 games that happened. All that matters is where you end up. And the good thing for them is after that game, they will be in a much nicer position. And yeah, again, regardless of some of the troubles they have had over the course of today, all it is just learning lessons as they look to gear up for the Summit Land, right? One of the more exciting parts of Summit Land that I don't think we've really touched on is the fact that it's going to be like the first land we've ever had where the FNCS we just watched will be played on the same meta, right? And so the lessons they learn throughout this weekend will be incredibly valuable for them as they look towards the land.
Well, we are ready to take a short break, and when we come back, everything is on the line. It's the final game of the FNCS Europe Major 1 Finals.
لا نشوف انه خلاص المركز اول حقق خلاص لانه في فارق كبير من المركز الاول والثاني صار. تعال نشوف انه البطولة خلاص خلصت، انسى الموضوع. بس اللي بيحاول اللي هو ماله بالتوب كان راح يحاول انه يصير التوب 10، غير هيك ما انسى. فلا هيك فلا هيك هسكر اليوم لأنه حاج راسي وجعني خلص، كبرت، مليت من البطولة الزفت. ما في حماس بالبطولة، ما الحماس اللي كنت مترقبه. يا سيدي على كل حال، في حال إذا عجبكم بس لا تنسى اللايك واشترك في القناة في حال إذا ما كنت مشترك، فهذا الشي بيدعمني وبحفزني بشكل مو طبيعي. فبتمنى من كل قلبي كنتوا تدعموني وتحفزوني عشان استمر معاكم، ونشوفكم على خير. سلام.